Hello once again and welcome to lesson 1 of my beginner tutorial on how to create a Halo custom edition map. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to play around in a map of your own. Any basic shape I'm going to teach you, you'll be able to convert into a Halo CE map, and provided you download the appropriate tags, you can play around with any weapon or vehicle that you find online. It's pretty amazing, really. So, right here, let's dive right in. I have 3D Studio Max 2013 open. I'm pretty sure any version above 3D Studio Max 5 will work if you have that. If you're a student, you can get this for free, and if you're not, you can get a 30-day trial or use Gmax. But unfortunately, I hear Gmax is a little different, so whichever works for you. But this tutorial will be for 3D Studio Max. If it's your first time opening up this program, it's a little daunting, isn't it? There's lots of buttons. You don't really know what any of it does. But for the purposes of map making, you can ignore most of it. We're mainly going to focus right here on geometry, which should be open immediately after you open 3D Studio Max, and on these buttons right here. Just a few of them, really. So, before we begin, you should really have a mouse with a mouse wheel. It's so much easier for doing everything. Click in the mouse wheel and move your mouse. You can move the scene around. Roll the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out. Hold Alt and the mouse wheel, you can rotate. Hold Control on the mouse wheel, it's also panning, but it's a bit different. I'm not exactly sure how, but you'll see it's different than just using the mouse wheel. I don't use it that much. Shift and the mouse wheel will limit it to one direction at a time. So if you only want to pan left and right or only want to pan up and down, hold Shift and the mouse wheel. And you can't really do any of that easily without a mouse wheel. So if you're trying to work on a laptop or with a tablet, it's going to be a bit harder for you. If you don't have a mouse wheel, you can also use the View cube in the top right corner. It's not as convenient. So, like I said, it still gets the job done, but, you know, if you end up panning too far away from the center or whatever you're working on, you can click the home button here, or just press the Z key. If you have a keyboard, you could just press the Z key. It'll automatically zoom in on whatever you're working on. You can adjust your viewports. This is all basic 3D Studio Max stuff. I'm not going to go too in depth on it. You can look up tutorials on 3D Studio Max itself if you need that. But for our purposes, that's really all you need. You need to be able to look around and look at all these views. These views are basically just, this is perspective, that's front, top, left. It's self-explanatory. So for our first map, we're going to create a box canyon. Sounds familiar, right? So naturally, let's start with a box. To make any shape in 3D Studio Max, just click and drag, and then let go of the mouse button. And then when you move your mouse now, it's going to change which dimension it's adjusting. So just find a height you like and click right there. Okay, now I'm rotating around. Nice little box, and you can see in our front view looks like a square, top view looks like a square. When you get into more detailed models, you're really going to need to use all your views. But for now, let's focus here. One pitfall that's going to hit a lot of early map makers is you don't know how big this box is. You could end up making a level that's just really massive, or a level that's barely even worth walking around in. The first map I made was maybe 10 feet wide and like 2 feet tall. You threw grenades and they fell immediately down. It's terrible. So in order to help you out, you're going to go over to your menu here, hover over Import, click Merge. Now head on over to your install directory for Halo Custom Edition. Go to Data, Levels, Test, Tutorial, Models, and find this thing, tutorial.max. You'll have this little thumbnail here. It looks really weird. Double click that. Now these have all sorts of little models that are in the game, but the one we want is Master Chief, of course. Obsolete data format, please resave. This is fine because it's old. Alright, and hey, we got this little guy here. Go ahead and click select and move up here. You have these little 3 axes here, just like in my last video back in Sapien. And because we have it selected, just press the Z button, and there you go. Of course, he doesn't look anything like in the game. Very low poly, but it gets the job done. This is the size of Master Chief in the game. It's very useful for making maps. So you see these axes light up as I move over them. Let's move over this axis. When it lights up, click and drag, and we can move it around. And likewise, when the box lights up, I can move it around in 2 dimensions. So let's put it inside the box. And here we see what I was talking about. This is how big the level would have been inside this little box. This is quite the level, isn't it? It's just massive. I could walk maybe 3 steps in here. So what we're going to do is click on the box, click on select and uniform scale, and make it as big as we want. I'm going to use this view right here. And now you can see it's got a bit more space to it. A bit more playability. Okay. When you're done sizing your level to whatever size you want, go ahead and click Convert to Editable Mesh. I think editable poly is also acceptable. However, I've only worked with meshes on Halo maps. I've worked with polys otherwise. But I think meshes are a bit more simple for what we're doing here. Go ahead and click on one of these faces and press Ctrl A. And you'll see all of them will light up red in all your viewports. That's just showing you they're all selected. Go over to Surface Properties. If you just got 3D Studio Max, it'll look more like this. So just go ahead and slide down to Surface Properties, click Flip. And all I'm doing to make my thing a bit bigger, because I have a larger screen size, is I'm dragging this out. So depending on your screen size, however you like your thing set up. Now everything's flipped. It looks the same, right? But it's not. Right click on the object, go to Object Properties, click Backface Call, and now we can see right inside our land. So what we basically did was we took a box, we turned it inside out, and then we made it so that we can see through. You can see there's still a wall here, but we can see through the walls when we're looking at it from a certain angle. And that's exactly what we want. So this is our level. It's a lot bigger now because we use this scale. It's a lot easier to work with. So you want to click Ignore Backfacing, because you'll notice I want to click on this wall back here. I want to change something on it. It's not lighting up red. That's because there's a wall in between me and that wall. So you click Ignore Backfacing. Now you can click through anything you can't see, you're able to click through. And that's exactly what we want. Okay. Would you believe we're already halfway done? Go back to Create so that you're out of here, so that you can click out Nothing Selected. And you're going to want to create another box. It doesn't matter what shape or size this box is, as long as it's visible and easy to click on. You don't want to make a really tiny box, and you don't want to make a huge box. And you're going to want to name this one Frame. What this does is tells the game where the center of your level is. So if you put the frame really far away, that's not good. If you put it in the center of your map, that's fine. It won't be visible in the game. However, you don't want it to get in the way of your modeling. So I usually put it just right here, just around here. Make sure it's named Frame. and click Select and Link. And take your box here and link it back. When you're done linking, you want to click Select Object, click on your box, and go ahead and give it a name. I usually stick with Skybox because it's nice and descriptive as to what this object is in your scene. Then press M to bring up the material editor. This is a very important part of making your map because you don't want to have just a closed off box. You want to see the sky. There's so much depth you can go into in this. For now, let's just focus on what we need for our map. Go ahead and click Show Shaded Material in Viewport. This is more important once you start using actual textures. Click on this thing that says Standard. And you'll have all these fancy materials. Go ahead and find multi/sub object. Discard old material, that's fine. And set the number of materials you want. I'm just making a nice little box, so there's just going to be the ground and the sky. That's 2 materials. I'm going to name this Skybox after my box here. I'm going to name this material Sky, and this one Ground. Then under Submaterial here, I'm going to click None, and it's going to bring up that same material/map browser. This time, let's just click Standard. This part's very important. You see this material number 36. Type in plus sky. This tells the game that whatever you assign this material to is going to be invisible. It's going to render the sky. So, you know those invisible walls in video games? Basically, these big old walls we have here, we're going to turn all of those into invisible walls. Go ahead and go down to this diffuse thing, this gray box, click on that. I usually give it a nice bright blue color so it reminds me it's the sky. Go ahead and click Show Shaded Material in Viewport again. I don't think it's as important for the sky, but I always remember to do this because otherwise you can't see your textures, you wonder what's going on. So let's go to Ground, again click on None, again click on Standard. We're not going to put textures on our maps this first tutorial, so this really doesn't matter, this diffuse color here, but I always pick something that reminds me of what it's supposed to be, so let's click green for a nice bright ground, and then click on our material here and drag it onto our skybox. And you'll see there's all these colors here now that's assigned. Let's close our material editor, click on Modify, click on this red square here, this polygon, and go in here. I'm going to click on the walls I want to be invisible, press and hold Control, click another wall, and that'll allow me to select multiple walls. So I'm going to select every part that I want the sky to see. You see I'm leaving the bottom alone because that's supposed to be the ground. Go over to Surface Properties, Material, go to Set ID, and press 1. And you'll see they all changed blue now. And just to make sure, I click the ground does indeed have Material ID 2. And what these correspond to are 1 and 2 here. Not too difficult. So now we're done. Can you believe it? This is our map. It's very, very simple, and we'll be able to play around with it. So in my last video, I said to make sure to have all those tools installed. One of them that I kind of glanced over was the JMS exporter. You can download this from halomaps.org. It's around the web. And once you run it, I just copied it into my scripts directory of 3D Studio Max, so I can run it easily. Once you run it, it'll look like this: Blue Streak Halo Model Exporter. Go ahead and make sure these two are checked, save to JMS file. and click Export JMS Data. If all goes well, you'll see this. Sometimes it says no actors to export. That just means remember that you link this box to the frame, and this needs to be named frame. So go to your Halo Custom Edition, Data, Levels, and we're going to create a new folder. This just makes things so much easier for when you're making your map. We're going to call this new folder box. And inside box, we're going to need to make a folder named models. This one's not optional because tool, which builds your map, looks for a folder named models. So just remember level name, we call this level box. Models folder, not optional. This, you can name it whatever you want. Again, we're going to call it just box to make things simple, and save. Again, all goes well, it should just blink. So now let's navigate over to our Halo directory, Halo Custom Edition, and go to Data, Levels. Here we go. Sorry, my bad. Go to Data, Levels, Box, Models, and here we go. Here's box.jms. Just wanted to verify that it's there. Go here. Remember I said put a shortcut to command.exe. If you don't have it here, just create a new shortcut and go to your System32 directory over here, and you'll be able to find cmd.exe. And we'll call that command.exe2. And you just want to make sure properties start in. Just copy your current directory and put that in the start in. This is important because if you don't do that, when you run it and type in tool, it won't know what you're talking about. But because I did that, I type in tool, you see all this text just spit out. So we're good. Anyway, we run cmd.exe, we run tool, structure, and tool structure will start in the data directory. So now you want to type in from the beginning the path to your level, just the path. So we type in levels, box, and that's actually it. Because like I said, tool looks for models folder. And then type a space and type in the name of your file minus the .jms. So we named it box. Okay, it'll spit out all this, and you'll see this couldn't read map file tool beta. This isn't a beta. I don't know. You can ignore this. It doesn't mean anything went wrong. This is what's important. Structure, BSP, levels, box, box. BSP has 6 nodes, 1 leaves, all this data about it. That you should see this, that means it's good. If it complains about triangles, that's for complicated models. If you're following along with my tutorial, you shouldn't have any problems with that right now. So go ahead to your tags directory. This is the back end of Halo. This is where everything is. Yes, one little note. I've been doing this for a little while, just practicing on this new computer. So these two are already made. I'm gonna go ahead and delete them and redo the structure command so that you can see. You can do that just by pressing up. Believe me, that's a huge time saver. Once you start making more complicated models, just press up to go to your last command. Press enter, And you'll see now, because I deleted those, it's asking me what is the shader material for material number whatever. If we go to our material, again pressing M, we'll see I forgot to name our ground. Okay, that's fine. Don't forget to name your materials. Plus sky is the most important one, but the other ones are pretty important too, so that this doesn't happen where you don't know what material number it's talking about. So now we know that one is just a ground material. And what is ground but an environment? So you could press 1. If you mess up, press one of these other numbers because you were interested in what they do. Yeah, that's glass, that's water. I'm pretty sure generic is not used anymore. But if you mess up and accidentally put the wrong shader, you can just delete it and remake your map like I just did. Or once you get better with Gorilla, you can edit the tag and just change it to the right shader. So it is an environment. We click 1. And the difference is now we have to rerun it. So press up, and there we go. Once you rerun it, again, important part that tells you it's correct. Let's go over to our levels. And we see again, tags, levels, here's our box. We have box.scenario, box.scenario structure BSP. We are ready to go to the second step. Second step, as I said in lesson 0, is Gorilla. So let's go ahead and open that up. File, open. And it'll automatically go to tags. And these are pretty self-explanatory. You have cameras, characters, effects, blah, blah, blah. But we're building level. So levels, box, here's our scenario. Structure is very complicated. It's basically the text version of the level you just built in 3D. We don't want to mess with that, really. Tool just built that. This is what we want to mess with. So go to box.scenario. There is a lot of stuff here. Cutscene titles, cutscene flags, starting locations. This is the text version of your level, not the model for your level. The only things you're going to want to mess with right now are right at the top. Skies. You want a sky. So click Add. Doesn't matter what it's named. In fact, I don't think you could change it. Click these 3 dots. Go up. Again, like I said, very explanatory. Sky. And you can go ahead and pick a sky. I usually stick to clear afternoon or dusk. You're going to want something that says sky. And you see that some of these don't have a sky. So just find a .sky file. Let's go to clear afternoon. It's the easiest. And then we're making a multiplayer level, not a solo campaign level. So go ahead and click multiplayer. Okay, good. We're also going to want to pick one thing. Let's go ahead and scroll down while we're here. About halfway through, you'll see starting equipment. Add. Type 0 you want to set to all games so that any game played on your map starts with these. You can also set them to, obvious, Slayer, Oddball, but let's keep it simple. Any game. And click the 3 dots by item collection. Item collections are basically the tags. Everything in Halo is based off tags. The tag files that compose the item. So these again are very self-explanatory. I just went tags, item collections that it's asking for. I want weapons, and sure, let's give us a flamethrower, because flamethrowers are cool. And we're done. Go ahead and save changes, and now we're already on to the third tool. See, it's not that complicated. Let's go ahead and run sapien. And to our tags, levels, and again we're going to want to go to our scenario tag. In fact, it doesn't show any other tags, so go open that, and this will take a while. There we go. It'll take even longer with the more complicated maps, but here you go. And Again, this is where a mouse with a mouse wheel absolutely helps. In fact, I don't even know how to do it without a mouse wheel in this case, because you're going to want to click the mouse wheel in, and once you have it clicked in, you can move around, and then when you let go, it stops moving around. So like I said, I'm not really sure how to move this around without a mouse wheel. Once you click in the mouse wheel, press WASD, go ahead and move around. You're not going to notice much movement because there's no map here, is there? Uh, but go ahead and press shift a couple times so you can move around faster. You can see your camera position still changing even though you can't see it. Press R and F to go up and down. You can see the horizon change a tiny bit. But you're wondering, where's the pretty map we just made, that beautiful box? Well, press the tilde key and type in radiosity quality 1 and press enter. If you have a large map, you're going to want to start with 0 just to get it ready, because basically radiosity is pretending that your level is in the land with that sky. It's going to bounce light off and go through all your windows and all your little surfaces and light them up so that people can see them. If you have a really complex map, obviously this takes a very long time. Of course, our canyon is not very complex, so we use radiosity quality 1, which is your final version, instead of 0, which is your draft, and 1 will give us higher quality light. Now type in radiosity start and press enter. I don't recommend moving around on more complex maps, but since this is just a box, we can go ahead and look around and find our map. There it is. Doesn't it look pretty? These three numbers are red, green, and blue, if I remember correctly. If your map's complicated, you'll see these numbers counting down to 0. Obviously, one plane, not going to take that long. There's 0 instantly. So type tilde, radiosity, save, press enter, and we're done. And here's our nice pretty map with all the light. And you'll see so much light bouncing off of it. That's why it's so white. All angles going through. And you saw that even though we had a box here in our model, that because we made those things sky, you can see right through them. They are invisible walls. Go to your hierarchy view here. Go to player starting points. Just right click wherever you want them to start. And go ahead and zoom in on that. So you'll see these three axes like I showed in my last video. This blue arrow points to where they'll look when they start. So let's say we want to look out to this corner. It doesn't really matter. It's a very simple map. Okay. This is important. Go to your properties palette, type 0. Again, go to all games. If you don't do that, when you save your map, it'll say it's waiting for space to clear, and you're going to have to do this again. It's a waste of time. So just make sure you click type 0 all games. Now we're done. We can export this and we could have our map and run around with it, and we'd have a flamethrower and it'd be pretty boring. So why don't we give ourselves some more stuff? Objects. We have items. We can drop some weapons here. Let's just drop a weapon right over here. When you click on that and go to your properties view, which I seem to have hidden. Here we go. You'll see the type is none. Edit types. Add. Go to your tags. Go to your weapons. Again, very self-explanatory. What are we doing? Weapons, weapons. Let's add a rocket launcher and click the rocket launcher dot weapon tag. Okay, and we're done. This is also how you get custom weapons in. So if you download a weapon tag, just navigate over to it, click on the weapon tag, add it, click OK. Now we have a rocket launcher. And you can see, isn't it nice? It's right in the game right there. A nice little rocket launcher. And why stop there? Let's add, okay. And now that we're done with that, we're going to want to drive around a little bit. So we can go ahead and play around with some stuff. Here we go, bipeds, vehicles. Again, edit types, add, go to your tags. What are we looking for? Vehicles. Sure, let's get a warthog. And this just means multiplayer warthog. Dot vehicle. Done. Okay. And drop that off. Again, remember, properties palette, warthog. Hey, how's that going? Remember I said this was like Forge? Okay. So, here we are. I want to make sure I'm not putting my spawn point right under the warthog. I'm not. So, we have our stuff. Go ahead and feel free to have fun putting all your weapons and your vehicles, however big you made your map. This is actually still kind of tiny. But when you're done playing around, just click Save Scenario. You're going to want to make sure that all these allows and defaults are clicked for your vehicles. Otherwise, they will not spawn. So, yeah. Now save scenario. I usually close this. Go to your tool again. Type in tool, build dash cache dash file. And type in, I believe this starts from the tags directory. So you want to go from tags, just like before, the path. So we want to go levels, backslash, it doesn't like forward slashes here, backslash box, backslash box. You'll see all this stuff again spit out. This one clusters have no background sound or sound environment. You didn't see me add sound. This is correct. You can ignore that. Couldn't read map file tool beta. Ignore that. And basically, you should just see all this successfully built cache file. Go over to your main directory. Go over to your maps directory. And what is this? Box.map. Right next to Blood Gulch, Boarding Action, all your other maps. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to test this map. So open up Halo Custom Edition, click Multiplayer, create a LAN game with, here's our map right here, right next to all the other maps. It'll be near the bottom. Just go ahead and click our map box. Slayer game type, sure, and start the game.
Slayer.
And you'll see we start out with our flamethrower like we wanted. Here are all of our rocket launchers that we set here. You'll see they have no ammo. Stuff like this, also spawn positions, respawning, keeping them from despawning, which they will in a moment. This is all stuff that we're going to have to handle in detail in a later tutorial. See right here. But for now, this will be enough for you to test out your level, drive around if you want, see that everything works. Lots of stuff is taken care of for you, lighting, the ground will act like dirt. In the next tutorial, we'll handle adding textures to something like this so it doesn't just look like a white flat field. But there you go. Go ahead and have some fun checking out your map. You can download weapon tags from other people at halomaps.org and go ahead and see, put them in your map and see what they look like, test them out. Have a lot of fun. That's my favorite thing about modding Halo Custom Edition is you can see what other people have made, toss them in your own map, and then just like test them out. It's really cool. But we're not done yet. I wanted to leave you able to make a map out of any basic shape, and right now we've only done a box. So in 3D Studio Max, you can basically apply what we've done here to any basic shape in that list, the box, the torus, the pyramid, but there is one little thing that you're gonna have to take into account. So here's a weird thing. I wanted to leave you guys just the tools you needed to make your map out of any basic shape. However, you cannot make your map out of any basic shape because of some limitations. You can, as you saw, make a map out of a box. We just did that. But if you try to make one out of a sphere, you get some issues. Here's what happens when you try to load the collision geometry of a sphere. Oh, that's ugly. Here's how to fix it. If you want a round map, something that's like a sphere to roll around in, let's delete that. You want to go to Geosphere. What's the difference? Well, you can see it easier in one of these wireframe views, which you can also just click here. Go to wireframe. This is a geosphere, and this is a normal sphere. Halo can render a geosphere. It really doesn't like these regular spheres here. You can see a geosphere is made out of all these little triangles, while this is made out of all these little squares. So if you want a round map, go to Geosphere. I'm going to make one really fast right now. Adjust it to the right size. Editable mesh. Select all of these. Surface properties, flip. Right click, object properties, backface call. And it's going to be really difficult to tell the inside from the outside, but luckily there's our little Master Chief right in there, so that tells us the size. It's a very big map, and it gives us a little hint as to what the inside looks like. So what we're going to do, we're going to unclick ignore backfacing. We're going to select everything for a little bit. Let's make it about here. We want to select half the dome. There we go. And we want to go to our surface properties and make sure that these are set to material ID 1. Remember, that is our sky material. So that when we click and drag, it will be the sky. And then drag it to the entire object at once. You can see now that I've done that, the bottom is correctly green. So that's what you want to do. So now it's done. We have it linked up to the frame. Alright, once you have your geosphere here, you want to go to Modify, drop this down. There's a lot of things here. Just look for the multi-res modifier. Leave everything as they are and click Generate. And just bring this down a whole bunch. Whoa! What is this doing? This is taking away all the smoothness from your sphere. So sorry, you're gonna need a bumpier sphere. It doesn't really like super smooth surfaces. It can't handle them very easily. So once it's like that, go ahead and click Export. Bring it down to a certain bumpiness. I think that's bumpy enough. And run it again. If it's still complaining, go ahead and drop down the vertex count even more, just the way it is. Oh, I didn't even. Okay. Remember to export each time. There we go. So it's very annoying, but that's kind of a quick fix to that problem. I'm sure if you wanted a spherical map and you saw this problem before, you kind of panicked. It's a very annoying problem. Alright, so now that we've solved that problem, again, we have built our scenario using tool. So let's go ahead and open Gorilla. Open levels in the tags directory. Here's our sphere, sphere.scenario. The The sky also determines how bright you make that background, how bright you make the level rather. So if we go to sky, last time I used clear afternoon, I believe. Let's go ahead and pick ice fields. Sure. And go to multiplayer. Go to starting equipment. All games. What do we want this time? How about a plasma cannon? And go and save. Pull this spherical map up and save. Oh, shoot. Pull this spherical map up in sapien. Remember to click the right scenario. Here we go. And you see this beautiful ice field sky. It's different than the sky we had before. And we're going to type our usual commands. Tilde, radiosity, quality 1, radiosity, if I could spell, start. And you see everything's at 0, so we're done already. Radiosity, save. Now, where is our beautiful map? Sometimes you gotta hunt around for it. Depends on where you put the frame. Oh, we were in it. Whoa, that's confusing. Look at this thing. It would look a lot better if we had a texture to it. But this is the bowl. You can see light is coming in from the sun from that angle, and this is why it's important to have a sky. Because when determining radiosity, when determining where light goes in your map, you see only light from the sky from that sun is hitting here, and naturally you can't see the sun from here. So it's dark. Pretty cool, right? So, there's not much you can do with a simple bowl map, except for have some crazy warthog fun, so let's go ahead and do that. Remember, player starting point, pretty much the most important thing. You can't load the map without a starting point, or at least you can't load the map and play around with it. All games, those two main important things. Vehicles, edit types. Let's go ahead and add our warthog again. Remember, it's always here. And toss one in. Warthog. Okay. Cool. And let's go ahead and just save this scenario. Oh, again, make sure your starting point isn't right next to the vehicle so it runs you over. That's fine, I believe. Close this. Tool, build, cache, file, fail, file. Starting from the tags directory, we have levels, /sphere, /sphere, I believe. Yep, that's a lot of stuff. It all looks good to me. Let's go ahead and load up Halo. So here we are once again in Halo Custom Edition, this time to test out our bowl map. So we're going to start it up the same way we started up our box map, or any map for that matter.
Slayer.
And you can see we started out with our plasma cannon as we wanted. We have our warthog here, and it works. You'll see that gravity acts just like you expect it to. You can drive around in circles in your spherical map in Halo Custom Edition. The next tutorial will cover adding textures to your maps so that, for one, they won't look like white bowls and white boxes, and for two, if you want to have an indoor map that's metal or an outdoor map with a stone walkway, when stuff explodes on it or it gets shot, it won't look like dirt. You can make it look like all sorts of stuff. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If there's anything in this video you need a quick refresher on, you can find text versions of this video at wildrendergames.x10.mx. It's not .com, it's .x10.mx. You can also find text versions of other tutorials. So if you just need one part of this video, you can just scroll down and just read what you're probably missing. Good luck, good modding, and hope to see you next time.